No matter how good a season someone's having, there will always be a debate over who should win the MVP. And in Major League Baseball, since there are two MVP awards handed out, you have the additional debate over which one is the best player of all. Shohei Ohtani is having an historically great season at the plate. Became just the sixth player in MLB history to hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases in the same season. And he's about to go beyond that and become the first ever to have a 50-50 season. But most people will tell you that Ohtani, despite the historic mark he's setting this year, is not the best in MLB. They'll say that title goes to the inevitable American League MVP Aaron Judge, but that Ohtani is still deserving of the National League MVP. Not everyone thinks that, though. There's a lot of support for Francisco Lindor as the NL MVP over Ohtani. So Ohtani finds himself named as the best in all of Major League Baseball by a few, not even the best in the National League by some others. Not everyone's on board with Aaron Judge either. Bobby Witt Jr., like Ohtani, is about to do something no other player in MLB history has done before, and he's got some support in the MVP race versus Judge. What I want to look at today is who will and who should win the MVP awards, who should be considered the best in all of Major League Baseball, and something else that's being debated, which player is having the most historic season. For some of these questions, there's a good argument for both sides. For others, one side of the argument is pretty weak, and there really shouldn't be any debate at all. Let's start with the American League MVP race. Aaron Judge is the clear front-runner, has been for a long time now. League leader in home runs, RBI, on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, OPS+, total bases, and walks. He's got a pretty big lead in those categories too. Not like he's in any danger of falling to second in any of those categories in the last couple of weeks of the season. Good glove in the outfield too. Bobby Witt Jr. has emerged as the nearest competition to Judge. Offensively, the categories where Witt tops Judge are batting, hits, runs, stolen bases, doubles, and triples. He's the league leader in batting, hits, and runs. So if traditional stats are the most important thing to you, you might lean towards Witt. Though it's worth mentioning that Judge is a very close second for the batting title. If Judge surpasses him, he'll get the Triple Crown, which will earn him the support of the traditional stat users. Another strength for Witt is his position. While Judge is a good outfielder, Witt gives more value to his team defensively at shortstop. So while Judge is way ahead of Witt in OPS, about 1140 to about 970, Judge has a much smaller lead in wins above replacement. Baseball Reference has it at 9.5 to 9.0 in favor of Judge. Fangraphs has them tied at 9.6. One more thing Witt has going for him is that he's about to make history. Not as well known as the 50-50 club, but Witt needs just 2 more stolen bases, and he'll become the first player in MLB history with 40 doubles, 30 homers, 30 steals, and 10 triples, all in one season. Judge's big shot at a major mark was to hit 60 home runs again, but after a 2-week slump, he's no longer near that pace. But in the end, you gotta give it to Judge. He's got the better offensive numbers, clearly. Witt makes up for a lot of that with his defense and base running, but even when you factor that in, Judge still comes out ahead. As for Witt becoming the first 40-30-30-10 player, it's a great accomplishment. But just because a player makes history during the season doesn't mean he's the MVP for the season. If he took 5 of his triples and added it to his home run total, it would be an improvement to his offensive production, but it would lose the historical significance. A lot of times people get carried away with these nice-sounding numbers, all ending in 0 in every category, and argue for a player based on that. And Witt's not the greatest beneficiary of nice-sounding numbers. That would be the front-runner for the National League MVP, Shohei Ohtani. He's quickly approaching 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases, something many of us thought we'd never see. His run towards 50-50 has created a lot of excitement around the league. More importantly, he leads the National League in home runs, RBI, slugging, OPS, OPS+, total bases, and runs scored, second in stolen bases. Lindor has an 834 OPS, far behind Ohtani's 986. 31 home runs, 27 stolen bases, not bad. But about the only thing he's got Ohtani beat in is doubles. Offensively, it's not even close. Ohtani hands down. But for all the distance Ohtani has between himself and Lindor offensively, it's even more lopsided in favor of Lindor when you compare the two defensively. Lindor is a Gold Glove winning shortstop with a .980 fielding percentage. Ohtani, meanwhile, hasn't played 1 inning of defense this season. They have never awarded the MVP to a DH. Even though Ohtani is making history, he's also got history against him. If he's going to be the first DH to win the MVP, he can't just have the best offensive numbers. He has to be way better than everyone else. But that's exactly what he's done. 10 more home runs than any other National League hitter. About a 50-point lead in OPS. Number 2 in OPS is Ozuna, also a DH. Lindor, because of his defense, comes close to Ohtani in WAR. B-WAR, Ohtani leads 7.4 to 6.4. But in F-WAR, Lindor leads 7.3 to 7.0. So depending on which one you go by, Lindor's defense either comes up short of making up for Ohtani's offensive lead, or he surpasses Ohtani and becomes the frontrunner. Another argument in favor of Lindor is that he is an everyday contributor. He can go 0 for 4 at the plate but make some outstanding plays on defense that help his team to a win. You get value from Lindor every day. Ohtani goes 0 for 4 and that's all you get. No contribution. You could have sent anyone to the plate that day and got the same value, which is no value at all. But in baseball, everything is averaged together. He can go 0 for 4 one day, and the next day, home run, double, walk, and a stolen base. Average the 2 games together and it's pretty good. Rather than look for a little contribution in every game, we look at the overall contributions. Imagine if a guy gets a hit in all 162 games. He's contributing every single day. But say he goes 1 for 4 every day. Would you rather have him or a guy that bats 400 for the season? But I think the root of the everyday contribution argument is that some people believe a DH should never win the MVP. If you're not playing defense, you're missing half the game, and therefore cannot be elevated above guys that are doing twice as much. If that's your argument, then we have to eliminate pitchers from the MVP too. Pitchers have won the MVP in both leagues, even though a starting pitcher only plays 1 out of every 5 games. But we consider starting pitchers for the MVP because their effect on the team's success in one start can be 5 times greater than that from the best everyday player. In that case, we can make the same argument for Ohtani going 0 for 4 one day and then having a big day at the plate in the next game, providing most of the team's offense. If your argument is that neither a DH nor a pitcher should ever win the MVP, well, okay then, Lindor's your guy. But I think it's important they be consistent. If they gave it to starting pitchers in the past, and plan on considering starting pitchers in the future, then they should consider a DH right now. If his offensive production makes up for the fact that he doesn't play defense, a DH should be able to win the MVP. Who will they give it to? Ohtani, I'm sure of it. If not for the overall offensive production, then they'll give it to him because of the 50-50 season, which I think is not the right reason. It's a great achievement, shows a great balance of power and speed, but that's just like when people argued for Cabrera in 2012 just because of the Triple Crown. It should be celebrated, but not the primary reason for handing over the MVP. Who should they give it to? I'd still go with Ohtani here. It's really close between the two when you average together the offense and defense. But the thing is, Ohtani could play first base, not really do much, and with the offensive numbers he's got, there'd be no debate at all. He'd be playing a defensive position, which for a lot of people is the one thing he's missing to make him worthy of the MVP. But the truth is, the Dodgers don't need another first baseman. They need a hitter with power and speed, which Ohtani provides. Okay, so Judge and Ohtani are the likely NL and AL MVPs. So now, between the two of them, who is the MLB Player of the Year? If only one MVP award were given out, who would get it? Judge gets on base more. He's got Ohtani beat in on-base percentage, 453 to 375. That's a pretty big lead. He's drawn 45 more walks than Ohtani, with about the same number of hits. Batting average isn't close either, 319 to 292 in favor of Judge. Judge has 5 more home runs. Ohtani more triples, doubles about the same. Total bases are about even. Judge has a big lead in OPS, 1136 to 992. The one area where Ohtani wins big is in stolen bases, 48 out of 52, while Judge is 8 for 8 in steals. Do all those stolen bases make up for the amount he's trailing in OPS? No, it brings them closer, but Judge is still the better player offensively. And that's without even bringing up the defense, which is all Judge. 107 games in the outfield this season, not a single error committed. That puts him way ahead. B-WAR has Judge at 9.5, Ohtani 7.4. F-WAR, Judge 9.6, Ohtani 7.0. So it's not close at all. Though it's closer than it was a month ago, Judge had a 2-week slump, Ohtani started to hit a little better. But still, it's Judge. No one should be arguing this one. The only reason some people are saying Ohtani is better is because they're placing too much value on stolen bases. I think it's great that we're going to have a 50-50 player. It is a big deal, but it doesn't make him the better player overall. Another thing that's being argued over is who's having the more historic season, Judge or Ohtani. Years from now, when people look back on the 2024 season, will people talk more about Judge's season or Ohtani's season? Judge's season could have been really historic if he had stayed on track for another 60 home run season. That would have given him 2 60 home run seasons in 3 years. But he had some trouble in the final month and he'll have to settle for 56 or so. Still great, but it doesn't match what he did 2 years ago. Ohtani's 50-50 season will be remembered more, especially if no one ever does it again. I don't think Ohtani himself will do it again because he'll be pitching next year and will probably make fewer stealing attempts. If another player does it, it won't be anytime soon. Right now, there's only one player with 50 home runs and one player with 50 stolen bases. Ohtani is looking to be the second one to top 50 in both categories. 50 home runs is still very hard to do. Few players can do it. And of those who can, like Judge, they usually don't steal too many bases. One argument people are making is that stolen bases are much easier now, and that's why Ohtani is able to steal 50. Look, it's easier, but it's not that much easier. If it was, there'd be more than one player with over 50 steals this late in the season. Ohtani's 50-50 season in 2024 would at least be a 50-40 season a few years ago. I expect in the coming years 40-40 will be more common, a little more common. 50-50 will be 2024 Shohei Ohtani, and maybe never again after that. So Judge will be and should be the American League MVP. Ohtani will get it in the National League. He deserves it. But between Ohtani and Lindor, it's closer than a lot of people think. The best in MLB this year is Judge, and it's not close. Historically, though, 2024 will be remembered as Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 season. Anyway, that's just what I think. Let me know what you think down in the comments. That's all for this one, and until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya!